Hello, once again. My name is Ken Zubike, and today we will focus on the aftermath of Trudeau exit from the government and why the immigration issues still exist, including the deportation, the sudden deportation, and the stranded of many illegal immigrants or those their visa have expired with lack of work permit. We will return in a moment. Thank you once again. As I said, you are welcome to my program, and today we will look into, the existence of immigration issue in Canada, regardless of Trudeau exit. After Trudeau have exited the government, and the problem still exists while they have changed about 2 to 3 immigration ministers within few months. Here I'm going to let you hear the current update from Canadian news agency, which you can understand the current situation by yourself.
And the Liberals have reigned over Canada for a decade, and it looks to me like they've officially waged an economic war on natural-born Canadian citizens. Let's dig in.
We have millions of people whose permits will expire over the next couple of years, and many of them will leave. We need to ensure that more leave than come in over the next couple of years while we catch up. Well, housing, healthcare, and jobs can catch up. We've had population growth of roughly 1 million a year under the Liberals, while we barely build 200,000 homes. Our job market is stalled, and yet we're adding more people to the workforce.
First off, let's take a look at this disgrace. Student unemployment in Ottawa is hovering at 20%, which is twice as high as the Canadian average at 11%. That's right. 1 in 5 young Canadians in the Ottawa region is handing out resumes and getting nowhere. Meanwhile, what do we see? Well, thousands of labor market impact assessments called LMIAs greenlighting temporary foreign workers for jobs like food service, admin assistants, and landscapers. Landscapers? Are you kidding me? What exactly is going on here? This isn't governance, it's a betrayal. And let's talk about the LMIA map from the first quarter of 2025. The Greater Toronto Area, the GTA, gets its own category because it is drowning in these approvals from administrative officers to food counter attendants, cooks, carpenters. I mean, food counter attendants, like that teen who's taking your order at a local fast food joint. Why can't our own youth, desperate for work, fill these roles? Over 6,643 of them, to be exact. Well, it's because the Liberals have flung open the immigration floodgates, and it's a flood that's drowning our children's futures.
Our young people are facing generational highs in unemployment because the multinational corporations are giving jobs to low-wage temporary foreign workers that ultimately leave our young people without opportunities. Our country is divided, and we're not able to integrate people at this pace.
Sound familiar? It reeks of the Cloward-Piven strategy. This was conjured up in the minds of 2 socialists in the late 1960s as a blueprint for chaos and transformation. Their plan was to overload the welfare state by enticing as many people as possible to apply for every government program until the system collapses. And then what do we get? A system so bloated with temporary foreign workers that our own citizens are left scrambling. We see the proof happening right now in the pudding. Is this all a coincidence? I think not. So while the Canadian Immigration Ministry does not offer direct financial incentives to those who employ foreign workers, instead it funds hard to track and trace programs that assist organizations in integrating so-called skilled laborers into the workforce. In Quebec, for instance, their employment integration program for immigrants and visible minorities called PRIME provides up to 60% of the employee's gross salary up to the current minimum wage, with potential additional funding for things like training, adaptation of HR practices, and accompaniment. It's supposed to be aimed at supporting workforce integration, but it diverts public funds to subsidize private sector wages and training, contributing thus to unfair market competition that prioritizes select groups over broader economic needs. In Ontario, the Immigrant Nominee Program turns into a pay-to-play scheme where this streamlined pathway becomes a lucrative racket when you consider that people are illegally selling government-approved jobs with LMIA assessments on platforms like Kijiji for up to 25 grand, exploiting international students and others seeking work and permanent residency in Canada. Now, let's look back at that Ottawa section of the LMIA map, because the red and yellow dots are exploding like a policy disaster. 206 approved positions in just 1 quarter. The majority low-wage jobs that should go to our struggling youth and those entering the job market. But no, the Liberals keep rubber stamping these LMIAs, handing our economy to outsiders while Canadian kids are sidelined. This isn't compassion, it's economic sabotage. And some are saying it's no accident. They're accusing the Liberals of deliberately stacking the deck against us, against our children, to push some radical agenda. I'm not saying that that's necessarily true, but the evidence is piling up, isn't it? So I ask, prove me wrong. Because right now, it looks like the Liberals are selling out Canada's future for a cheap political win.
So in order to fix the problem, we've got to we need to put very hard caps on immigration levels. We need more people leaving than coming for the next couple of years. And we need, so our country can actually catch up. Our immigration policy should invite the right people in the right numbers in a way that puts Canada and Canadians first.
For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. It's becoming increasingly clear that Canadians are suffering as a result of uncontrolled immigration under the continued Liberal reign. The cost of living has soared, there's inadequate housing, and our
international students that paid over $20,000 to $22,000 per semester for their, tuition. Some of them probably $7,000, $8,000 per year, and some of them total amounts for 2 years program is total almost 23,000 Canadian dollars, and they are authorized to work at least a minimum of 20 hours in order to support them as a supplementary income. But during the pandemic, COVID-19, the Canadian government was begging all the immigrants to come and work because people were dying and there is no way, to fill up the, workforce. Because there is a gap, a lot of people are dying, people are afraid of going out, there is a lockdown, people doesn't go to the hospital because they are afraid, and it's only immigrants that volunteer themselves to go and do that work because the government was calling everyone to come and work, whether you have a paper, you don't have a paper, whether you're legal or illegal, you should come out to work. And this is the sacrifice the immigrant is, taking risk for their life. And I don't see the reason why the conservative candidates, Pierre is saying that a lot of people will leave, a lot of people will come. Why can't they normalize those that are already here, those that are already groomed within the system, that have the job, the experience, a Canadian job experience? Why can't they normalize them? Why deporting them and bringing other people in? And after some time, they deport them and bring other people in. Why can't they solve the problem once and for all? At this time, I'm going to, let you, listen to the another deportation issue that is going on right now, and this particular person has been here for a long time, and it is someone who works as a humanitarian, as a pastor. You will hear from the news agency during the deportation of what happened. The issue here is things are not getting better even after Trudeau have existed, the government.
A community is in mourning after a well-respected Toronto-based reverend and her 2 children were deported back to Kenya on Thursday.
I saw how the children were scared, they were traumatized, they were asking many questions, "Ma'am, what are we doing here?" because they were now detained.
Advocates say Reverend Rosalind Wanyeki and her family went to the Canada Border Services Agency offices on Wednesday, awaiting a decision on their deferral for deportation application, but instead was unexpectedly taken into custody.
That particular day was a very distressful day for them, especially mother and 2 children having to go to a detention center. They had not planned. Nobody had prepared them that was going to be an eventuality, and they were not ready to spend the night in a detention center.
The family was placed on an early Thursday morning flight back to the very place they fled 5 years ago, escaping persecution from a powerful church leader back in Kenya.
She feared for her life with her very little children. I don't know how the kids are going to fare in a new place, how she's going to take care of them, how she's going to be able to ensure that both of them are safe.
De Silva says the last time she heard from Rosalind, they had arrived in Ethiopia making their way to Kenya, her children scared, wanting to come back home.
This government, this prime minister, ran on this idea that they would stand up to Trump politics. But instead, what they've done was deport pastors, jail children. I think the question that we have is, who does this benefit?
In a statement to City News, Canada Border Services Agency says, in part, the agency carries out removals based on a risk management regime. There are multiple steps built into the process to ensure procedural fairness, and the CBSA only actions a removal order once all legal avenues of recourse that can stay a removal have been exhausted.
We're calling on the immigration minister, the public safety minister, to bring her back, bring Reverend Rosalind back. She has 2 pending applications still in process.
Those applications are an appeal for risk assessment and for permanent residency, which her lawyer says they still await decisions on. Rianne Campbell, City News.
So the point I'm trying to emphasize here is whether the government is willing to, legalize all the undocumented immigrants, including international students, because the problem is ranging from visitors visa, work permits, and international students. But I know there is a mixed understanding between the Canadian citizens, because some of them are not really knowledgeable of what is going on, and some of them does not understand that this is politics. The government use this for politics. Even when they raise alarm for the house crisis because of immigrants, this is over exaggerated because of politics, and based on that, the conservative want election because they want to bring down Trudeau government. But now this didn't work. Nobody is hearing about it, and in some years to come, before another election, because they are calling at the parliament for vote of no confidence, to bring down the government so that they can be able to go into another election. And very soon they will start talking about immigration again. But now nobody hearing about it. And I'm going to also bring you again to another ongoing